Hey everyone, don't mind me as I will adjust my microphone here and get it to hit me in the face. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. And I'm just going to do the obligatory everyone post that will get some people to hate us and to leave forever, apparently. It's okay. I'm okay with it. All right. Some people must really abuse the everyone thing, though, for some people to be up in arms about it the way they are. All right. At everyone. Hey, honey. Everyone, you're talking ad targeting today. Huzzah. Here we go. Hey, Chris. Hello, Fiona. I got Facebook up so I can actually see everybody's names. I wonder though, like, do you guys know? Do a lot of people actually use the everyone tag like all the time in groups, or is it really rare? I don't. My Facebook notifications have been entirely useless for years, so I'm sort of unaffected by anything in Facebook notifications because I have access to so many pages and accounts that it's just I'll get like 15 to 20 notifications a minute sometimes. So it's just like it's become an entirely useless feature for me. So if something's broken there, I have no idea. I can see using it daily to be kind of a pain. Oh, that would be really annoying, Amber, to do it for showing. But you only do it once a day, right? So they just do it every day for every post they make. I guess they probably make daily posts, yeah, and they just set it up. That would be annoying. I only do it once a week, you know? I guess Jill might do it every now and then, I guess too. But we do try to keep it on the, for things that we feel like are actually important. Um, Hope everyone's doing well today. It's you can opt out, really? Huh. Well, that's interesting. I I didn't know that. I'm just gonna quickly open my door because it gets stuffy in here really fast. I'm back. Oh, thanks, Amber. I'm glad that we're using it correctly. Um, so yeah, so today I actually wanted to talk about Facebook ad targeting, and the thing that brought it up was there's another post, another person running a course. Oh, I forget his name now. Not that I'm like trying to name names or anything like that. I just like being accurate. Jill messaged it to me. Let's see, what's the Matt Holmes. Actually, he might have been the one that taught the course earlier this year about that too. I can't remember now. Someone taught a course earlier in the year, and it's come a bunch of times though. So he made an article, and actually, generally, it's a very good article. I actually like his methodology. I like the way that he tests ads, and a number of things. I just don't like his advice of running unrestricted targeting, where you basically, when you're making you're making your audience in Facebook, and you pick things like country, age, gender, that you don't put anything in the detailed targeting box. You just leave that blank. That's the part I have issue with. Okay, it was his course. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I got a smudge in my glasses here. And and the reason why I don't like it is because, well, let's dig into the numbers here. I'm going to share my screen. And we're gonna look at some fancy stuff here. So, give me two shakes of a lamb's leg. Has anyone seen that advice, by the way? I guess Chris has. Oh, hi, Daniela. He seems like it seems like his methodology is solid for a lot of things. The tricky thing for him though is he has a sample size of one. Unless he's teaching a course, then maybe if he's teaching a course versus doing consulting are different things. So I don't know for sure how big a sample size is, but I suspect it's not massive. Um, and not to toot our horn, but just sort of like to make a factual comparison. At the Writing Wives, we work with 15 to 25 authors a week on their Facebook ads. So our sample size is very large. I have personally worked with over 500 Facebook ad accounts, and I see things that work and do not work, and I see patterns because of that. And I've seen people lose probably sometimes as much as $10,000 following that advice that he's given out. It's it's probably the number one piece of bad advice I see going on right now, and not because it's bad per se, but because of it's offered as a blanket piece of advice, and there's reasons why you would and would not want to do it, and there's reasons why it would and would not work. All right, share screen, present, share screen, pick my window. All right, here we are. And I'll just slide my noggin down here so we get more screen, and I'll widen this. I have a really wide monitor. I have like an ultra wide monitor, so I always have to adjust things because um, oftentimes it's if I go full screen, you just have like these black bars at the top and the bottom because it'll be so wide. Um, hey, Vicky. Yeah, hopefully his course is good. So here's the thing. All right, so I'm going to go down here and we're going to make this audience. So I agree with him very strongly in a couple of points. Only targeting one country per ad and generally only targeting one gender. I also generally, and it depends a bit in the ad, I usually start my ads for clients at either 35 or 45 years old, depending on their target. The reason being is that older people read more, so you're more likely to convert. Your clicks are more likely to turn into sales and reads than they are with younger people. Because you get a lot of younger people, who maybe really love the genres that you've picked, but they read one book a month. And someone over 45 might read one book a week or one book a day, so they're much more likely to grab a new book, try a new author than someone who only reads a book a month. They're much more likely to stay with tried and true authors, but they might click because they're curious. All right. So the advice being given is to do something like this. Pick your age, pick your country, only one country at a time. That's really important. And then just pick your gender and leave the detailed targeting blank. And the idea is, so I've now here have picked basically every woman over 45 in the United States, which is a maximum of about 57,000 people, 57 million people. That's a very different number. But here's the thing. Not all of those people read books, right? Now, an average cost per thousand impressions is around $10 to $15. So, and then we have, and then so if you're spending $5 a day, if it costs $15 to get 1,000 impressions, you're probably going to take about 3 days to get 1,000 impressions. By that point, Facebook will have gone through the learning phase on your ad. All right, I'm going to embigger myself for just a second here so you guys can see me gesticulate with my hands and whatnot. So imagine this is the 57 million person audience. I have lipstick on my fingers. 57 million person audience that Facebook has made. It's this giant circle right here, right? And there's everybody in that 57 million person audience, they're buying a lot of different things. And so the people that are buying like their next Lexus or a small island or something like that are actually, I'll use a triangle for this part. There's a triangle, and the people that are buying like the next Lexus are at the top of the triangle, maybe not Lexus, maybe house or island are up near the top. People buying like a Lexus or maybe an Acura, they're somewhere in the middle, and you people buying like, I don't know, whatever the current equivalent of a Geo Metro is, or further down. The people buying like a new toaster, a pair of leggings, and at the very bottom of this pyramid of people are the people who are buying nothing. And that pyramid represents your cost per click. People at the very bottom are cheap to advertise to. People at the top are very expensive to advertise to. If you move outside the book world and you talk with people who are advertising things that cost hundreds of dollars, they're like, you got less than $2 per click. Good job. Like that's an acceptable CPC when you're selling something worth hundreds of dollars. And Facebook knows what we're selling. They know the return on investment. And so they're smart about that. And then this giant sphere of people that you have as well, you have an interest percentage on that sphere. So let's say, for example, our sphere is Star Wars. The people at the very middle of that Star Wars sphere, they've seen like every movie, read every book, played every video game. They have 4 copies of the 1979 Christmas special, or all that. They have their own YouTube conspiracy theory channel about Star Wars, right? The people on the outside of the sphere saw one movie one time. Who are you going to want to advertise to if you're selling Star Wars stuff, right? Do you want to advertise the people who sold one movie one time, or do you want to advertise people who are super, super into it? So if you've got this grouping, this massive pile of 57 million people, and you get to show your ad to about 1,000 of them, which is a percent of a percent. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of that maximum number. It's entirely possible that every single person that Facebook shows your ad to during the learning phase doesn't read books. And then it'll build an internal audience, because it always builds an internal audience after the learning phase. And it does just what you said, Amber, or wait, who is it now? Vicky. It does just what you said. It uses its AI to learn from your ad copy, but also learn from who responds, because the number one thing is your image. So it will look at who responds to your image and clicks. It'll look at who reads and clicks. It'll look at what they read and click. But you've got a lot of words in your ad copy that can mean a lot of different things. You know, Facebook does, if Facebook was a system that only advertised books, it'd be easy. It would work like a charm, but it advertises everything. And say you put an excerpt, because excerpt work really well. You put an excerpt into your ad copy, and the whole time they're talking about Porsches in the excerpt because they're driving in a Porsche or something like that, right? Boom. Facebook AI thinks your ad's about Porsches and now shows it to people who like Porsches. And because we've gone and picked, you know, every woman in the United States, we are now getting women who like Porsches and not women who read books. And that's why super broad targeting like this can really burn you. I kid you not. I have seen people blow $10,000 trying this method and getting miserable results from it. I've also seen it work perfectly. I've actually been using this method, believe it or not, for 3 years, but I use it very selectively and in very specific circumstances. It is not a method you can apply wide. I know, right? I saw recently, Jody, a video the other day where they mentioned a Geo Metro, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I remember that." Yeah, no, Amber, you're absolutely, and that's why, because Facebook knows what you're advertising, and they know you can absorb a higher cost per click, and so Facebook knows, Amber, if they can get $3 a click, you know, from person XYZ, when person XYZ clicks and deliver them to a car dealership, and then but say that person that's looking for, you know, whatever kind of car you're advertising is also a reader, and so you, let me take a step back. You can only show so many ads a day to a given person before they're like, screw this, I'm out of here, this thing's all ads, right? So Facebook only has so many ad impressions that they can put in front of like my eyeballs every day. And you know, like, say for example, I'm shopping for a new washing machine, but I'm also into books, and they can like get $1 from Samsung, or they can get 7 cents from an author. Which are they going to choose, right? So we only advertise to the people that aren't buying anything else right now. And if you aren't careful about limiting your audience, you move out of those cheap people, and that's when your cost per click start to go up, because you haven't carefully limited your audience. I think you want to do targeting Cozy Mystery. My ads fatigue quickly and the frequency goes up. Yes, that's, and because Cozy Mystery is a fairly small target, and targeting Cozy Mystery on its own, you could probably have an ad that could run for you know, a couple of months at maybe $15 a day and be fine. But if you tried to run an ad at $100 a day for a couple of months, just targeting only Cozy Mystery, you'd have a lot of trouble. But there's lots of things you can target. There are lots of ways that you can find readers without saying find everyone, right? We can make it so that learning phase with Facebook is significantly more more focused. And I work with authors all the time where very rarely does an unfettered ad work the best. Most of the time we do some level of targeting, and we get crazy. Like some authors, we target like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and those ads work amazing, right? And it can be, there's a lot of different things you can use, and you can still build some big audiences. But here's a trick. If you want to go, if you're like, no, Mal, I want to do this, I'm committed, I'm doing these big things, for the love of Mike, at least find readers, right? So just narrate, to bring it down to fiction books and novel, for example. Let me zoom out a bit so we can see the audience size. We've still got 20 million people here. We shaved off 27 million, 37 million people who Facebook doesn't even know if they read books or not. And we brought it down to this 19 million people. Now we've got readers. Now you take your tailored ad that has a on genre image showing all the right tropes, and you've got really solid copy that says book in a couple of places in your copy, also conveying tropes and genre, then and also and if it's conveying tropes and genre well, it is using words that the AIs will pick up. Um, but if our excerpt or something is talking like we've got a psychologist, as the main character in our story, well, now we're at least not advertising people who like psychology but don't read books, right? Like we've at least narrowed it down to people who, if Facebook somehow makes that assumption incorrectly, we've at least brought ourselves down to people who also read fiction. And that's the main thing that I'm pushing for. I'm like, these, don't go crazy. Gone are the days where you want to end up with like 100,000 person audience. Back in 2016, that's what you had to do because Facebook sucked at finding the right people for your ad. You had to get really specific with it. I tell people now that 1 million person audience is the bare minimum. Don't go below that. Um, but uh, but you also don't need to shoot for everybody because we know that not everybody reads books, right? We know that. So why are we spending money targeting those people? Um, so that's my main piece of advice. It's just find readers, you know. And there's more things you could throw in there too. Like I could, like let's say for example, I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. So I'll choose novel, I'll choose fiction books, fiction books, and I write fantasy. Well, there's a fantasy books one too. Fantasy books. I'm okay with finding those fantasy book readers. There we are. And that actually interestingly didn't change our size, probably because Facebook is aware of the fact that fantasy books are encompassed within fiction books. So everybody that's in the fantasy book audience is probably in the fiction book audience. In fact, I can test that by taking out novels. So fiction books is a 16 million person audience. Let's add in fantasy books and see what happens. Fantasy books, fantasy books. I think it added 300,000 people. Oops, I went the wrong way around. The wrong way around. I turned into Elmer Fudd there for a second. All right. So I'm pretty impassioned about this topic. And mainly the reason why I'm impassioned about this topic is because I've seen this particular advice cost some of my clients just like down payment on car or possibly car amounts of money. Um, Actually, I'm going to take your example though, and just look at Cozy Mystery. Cozy Mystery is a 1.6 million person audience, which I would consider to be floating around the bare minimum for an audience size. So yeah, you you would not be able to have an ad run a long time on this audience. The way you could probably get this audience all by its lonesome to work a little bit better would it be only by using dynamic creative, which you have to turn on up here. Because if you run dynamic creative, then you can put in multiple images. You could put in like 4, 5, 6 images. And yes, Facebook does tend to focus on one image periodically. But it does shift over time. It will shift the image it favors, and you're much less likely to get creative fatigue. And creative fatigue is one of the things that will cause your cost per click to start to go up, because if Facebook has to show people a bunch of ads that they don't like, that diminishes that number of ads they can show people each day. But if people are like okay with seeing the ads and they're engaging with them and they seem to like them, Facebook can now show that person a few more ads each day and they can make more money off of that person. So it created fatigue, people scrolling past your ad, not caring. Facebook's like, great, we just blew that opportunity. And this author's always blowing this opportunity for us. And so they jack up your price to charge you for that opportunity. Okay, let's see. Vicky says, is it better to select books or ebooks? I'm in KDB Select, so just Kindle. Well, I'm guessing you have print books as well, right, Vicky? Um, I would, yeah, mystery fiction's another one. The neat thing. Actually, I'm going to take to your second statement first, while you answer whether or not you have print books or not. These parentheticals that they added are glorious because we could, for example, like you could throw in any romance. There we are. Contemporary romance. You could throw in any interest when you're trying to build one, like maybe write romantic cozies. Sure. Throw in contemporary romance and cozy mystery. But anything that says literature, they're readers. And so you could stack up. Like was it crime fiction is one? Crime fiction is literature. Romance novels. That one's right in the name, right? We know romance novels is is a publication category. There's even magazines. I don't know a lot of the magazines out Sci-Fi Land, but there's like Analog. Um, oh, where's it going to be? Oh, maybe they took Analog out. The name of Isaac Asimov's magazine from the days of yore. No, it's so sad. There's like Galactic. I'll have to hunt them down. There are a bunch of magazines. I have an audience made out of them. I just can't seem to think of any of the names right now. But anyway, you can get pretty creative. Heck, if you're targeting your people. Oh, they took Gay Times out. Okay, that's really sad. Gay Times is a magazine that used to be targetable. And maybe it's something else. Maybe I got the name wrong. No, it's gone. Oh well. Anyway, you get the picture. Anything that looks like it's a writing kind of thing you can use. Um, oh yeah. So if you've got if you've got print books, then you don't care if they read fiction or not. And even if you're in KU, Amazon sells 85% of digital books and 85% of physical books in the United States. So chances are 85% of your readers are going to be, or 85% of the readers seeing your ad are going to buy their book on Amazon regardless. You send them to Amazon and they see, Kindle, print, and audiobook. They're like, hey, look, it's all the book things. And they pick the one they want. And one thing I might add in, by the way, is that if I also had audiobooks, so I would also throw in audiobooks, audiobook, and I would actually probably throw in Audible too, because Audible is audiobooks. Make sure you pick the retailer, not the employer, because I kind of feel like a lot of people who listen to audio can be a little bit less picky, and I might just want to cast my net a little bit wide. So I'm going to go for everybody who reads contemporary romance and everybody who does audiobooks. And then the great thing about, say, if I write contemporary romance, I got like some man chest up there, maybe it's clean. I've got a couple embracing in some sort of small town background behind them. I'm going to filter out all the military science fiction readers right away with that image. And that's where Facebook's AIs will pay attention. If I cast my net wide like this, I'm still going to, as all those people who do not care about my small town contemporary romance, they're just going to scroll on by, and Facebook will figure that out. But I'm not going to have to pay a ton of money to get to that point because I'm starting with this smaller pool. Yeah, I know, Dre. Wait, are they different things? Oh, it's Asimov science fiction. You're right. You're right. But I always, for some reason, I always associate analog with Asimov. Maybe it's just the A's. I don't know. Anyway, you can find a bunch of this is obviously a tiny audience. You need to stack a whole bunch of magazines to make a good audience. So yeah, there's my thoughts on that. That's kind of my big spiel is yes, go for big audiences, do the big audience thing. However, just do a little bit of filtering, just a little bit, just to find them readers, and go for just fiction books and novels if nothing else, just to make sure that you're filtering out those people that don't read at all. And the other thing is, like, it used to be the conventional wisdom that we would always target by we'd narrow down by Amazon. Um, Sorry, my notification popped up and broke my brain. We'd always narrow down by Amazon Kindle or something like that. I don't do that anymore because with so many of us, reading books on our phones, Facebook has no visibility into the other apps on the phones, especially if you're on Android, or sorry, if you're on Apple. So all the people who are reading on their phones, they don't come up in that Amazon Kindle audience. So that's a terrible thing to narrow down. I think that alone is possibly why going wider works better for a lot of people, because that narrowing was causing problems. And we don't need to do that narrowing anymore because Facebook added those parentheticals. Now we can see if they're publication or literature categories and stuff like that. I do still narrow though, like say I was building with those TV audiences I talked about, like targeting Buffy and Angel and stuff like that. I might then click narrow audience, and then I put fiction books and novels into that, just to make sure that I get people who at least read. I'm not being so particular to make sure they read urban fantasy or anything like that. I just want to make sure they read, and then I get those folks. Oh, okay, Dre, thank you. That's Dre. Dre. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't like to get names terribly wrong. Yeah, reading I think is an option, isn't it? I know there's a couple more. Reading. I think the reason, yeah, so there's a reason why I don't pick reading, and that's because we don't know if reading's fiction or not. if you're going for a wide net, you could totally do that. But I choose specifically novel and fiction books because they're fiction reading types. So Paris Drea. Thank you. Thank you. I was popped into my head and I was like, is it Drea? But then I was like, I might butcher that. It might not come out of my mouth properly after it appears in my head. Paris says, how narrow or not narrow do you want your audience to be numbers wise? Bare minimum, 1 million. Preferably these days, I'd say 2 to 3 million is the low end. Upper end, I don't know, 50 million. I don't really worry too much about the upper end. I'll let them go as big as the targeting will get me. As you saw, by picking an audience of women over 45 in the United States, our upper limit is 57 million anyway. And once we narrow by readers, we end up in the 20 million land. It's generally pretty hard to actually build audiences that have some amount of focus up over 20 or 30 million. There are some scenarios. So I said that I've been doing this unrestricted audiences. I've been doing this for about 3 years now. And the scenarios I do it for are in big genres with authors who have household name or near household name recognition. Like if we're doing, Colleen Hoover, for example, right? I don't need to narrow down for Colleen Hoover. Facebook knows who she is. It knows the people that are interested in Colleen Hoover, and it can find them very easily. Or say I did Lee Child or Stephen King, I was running ads for them. I also would not do it. And even some big romance authors out there, some of the very well-known ones, I probably actually wouldn't even narrow for them either. I would just let it ride because they've got such name recognition that it will help Facebook very quickly realize who is and is not interested in those authors. Whereas people who don't have name recognition, it's got a little bit more work to do, and it can get it wrong. Is it a bad idea to concurrently run a box set ad to the same audience as the first book in the series? No, I do it actually fairly often. And if you think about it, like a $5 a day ad is going to get like maybe 500,000 impressions. And sorry, well, it'll get 500. It'll get 5,000 impressions a week, maybe 7,000 impressions a week. I was trying to remember what my initial math was I was going for there. Get 5,000 to 7,000 impressions a week. And if you've got an audience of 20 million people and you're running 2 ads to that audience of 20 million people, sure, Facebook will narrow it down, but you actually would be shocked to find out how rarely you have overlap. And the way that you can tell, let me see if I can bring one up here that I can use as an example. Campaigns. All right, I've got a couple of ads running on this account. I've not looked at these in months, so this will be Cobbler's Children Have No Shoes. It's like the same thing. I don't look at my ads that much. Oh my god. I've also left some ads on here I wasn't supposed to leave on. Oh wait, no. Never mind. Some of these are business ads. That's why. And those are oftentimes a lot more money. I thought they were book ads at first blush. Okay, I'm going to pick some fiction ads here. We'll do this one, and this one. We'll look at these 3 ads. Just give me 2 shakes and I'll share my screen. I have way too many columns enabled. I'm just trying to make sure I have the right number. Okay. Add to stream. Okay, so in here, just kind of ignore the top 2. They're not actually running. They're just test ads I was making for people just to show them how to do certain things. So in here, we've got 4 ads running, and all of these ads are to military science fiction readers. They might not be the exact, actually some of them are. Any of the ones saying old-timey SF authors are the same targets. KU list authors, those are also old-timey SF. I'm not sure which this one is. It's probably also, they're all like the biggest sci-fi author readerships I can find. So there's tons of overlap. So then we look at our frequency. Our frequency is, I'm going to just bump this up a bit to the last 30 days. Our frequency is the number of people in, the last 30 days, how many times they've seen the ad. So this particular ad, the average person has seen it a little bit over 2 times. And some of this ad, for example, the average person has seen it 1.95 times. But my average across all my ads is only 2.55, which means it's only a little bit higher than this one, which means that of all the people that I'm advertising to, um, how's the math on this going to work out? I'm always screw up math when I try to do it verbally while I'm talking. Um, Basically, if this number was like the aggregate, it was the sum of all of these numbers, that would tell us that the exact same people are seeing these ads. But the fact that it's only a little bit higher than my most exposed ad tells me that there's a lot of people here that aren't seeing the ads. And you can actually do this as well by impressions. So you can add up all of so impressions, oh sorry, reach, not impressions. We want to do this by reach. Reach is unique humans that have seen the ad. So if we were to add up all of these numbers here, we end up with 37,000, 94,000. So there's 94,000 is the number in here, and this number down here is 73,000. So what that tells me is that the difference between the sum of these numbers and my average, so actually this is the total number of accounts reached. The difference between those numbers is the overlap. So so some of these 20,000 people have seen the ads more than once. Sorry, I did a really bad job explaining this. This is why I need to write down math before I say it aloud. All right. So basically, what it basically tells you, like if everybody was seeing, if it was the exact same people seeing all of these ads, this number would be 37,000 down here. It would be the same as this number because it means that it's just one pool. But the fact that this number is 73,000 tells me that it's actually entirely possible that the people that saw this ad were completely separate from the people that saw this ad. And almost it's entirely possible that this entire 30,000 is a separate group of people than this 37,000. It's not quite, there'd be some overlap. Hopefully my botched explanation there eventually made sense. But I've done this so much better before. I feel so bad. It's such a hard time. I started doing it by frequency, and I remember like, oh yeah, this is way easier to do if we do it by reach. And then I screwed that up too. But anyway, um, the closer this number is to the sum of these numbers, the less likely you are to be showing all your ads to the same people. How's that? That's the best way to explain it. All right. Vicky, is the frequency accurate, do you think? Yes, it's completely accurate. Yeah, the frequency is literally this number divided by this number. It's your impressions divided by your reach. That's what frequency is. One interesting thing of note, by the way, you'll notice this little thing down here. It says account center accounts. So if you have the same account for logging into Facebook and Instagram, and they're linked, and WhatsApp or whatever, of you viewing the ad on Instagram and you viewing the ad on Facebook is one account center view. That's what that means. That's what they're using that number to mean. So it could be, I think it's just sort of noteworthy that they are aggregating views across platforms within the reach number, because reach is really meant to be unique human beings, and Facebook does the best they can to make sure that it is actually an accurate number. Oh my God, Leslie, which part? There's a bit of delay for me seeing the chat, so I'm not sure which part you want me to say again. I'll do the frequency number. Frequency is impressions divided by reach. Like if I was to take calculator, we'll do this like a really rough here. 73 divided by 37 is 1.97. So their number is 1.95. So it's entirely possible that just me rounding that number down to 73 divided by 37 is what got that difference. But you can just see that pretty straightforward. Forwardly. If one number is larger, then it's not the same audience. Yeah, the further so long as this number is significantly larger than any one of the individual reaches, you're probably okay. That's sort of the easy way to look at it. Like, hey, like if I had one of these, if this number, like I said, was 37,000 and I had an ad with a reach of 37,000, that means that all of these other numbers, all these other human beings also saw this top ad. So the further this total reach number is from your biggest individual ad reach, the better. All right. Sorry. I'm gonna make like an infographic or something like that at some point to explain that, to explain audience overlap and saturation. Because I think a picture, if I did this as a picture, I could explain it so much better. Um, if I had more coffee. I did actually have coffee today. I had mushroom coffee, and I think it's okay. I think it's actually pretty good for me, but I think my body's rebelling at the same time. All right. I shall stop that share. So that's my spiel. That's my whole thing. I just wanted to basically say, like, do big audiences, go wild, and do rely on your ad creative to help Facebook filter it down to the right people. And the broader you go, though, the more carefully constructed your ad creative needs to be. Like if you go and use a picture of a hot looking dude and nothing sort of jumps out in the text around that hot looking dude that says book, you could get a lot of clicks that are people who just clicked on because he was a hot looking dude, and they thought maybe it's a TV show or something like that. They didn't know it was a book. But if you go really wide, you got the hot looking dude, maybe you put a small 3D book image in the corner of the picture of the hot looking dude, or you use words like book and read and stuff like that in your text that surrounds the image, people will subliminally pick up on that and realize, oh, this is a book, and it will affect their decision making, even if they don't realize that it's done so. They will. So you just have to be very careful of how you craft your ads if you're gonna when you go broad like that. Um, Luckily, certain as authors, I think we all sort of have an innate feel for this sort of thing, but it's something just to be cautious about. The same thing, by the way, applies for if I put a hot looking woman in sci-fi armor on an ad and I just target all men, I'm going to get acres of clicks and no purchases. All right, infographic. Yes, I'm gonna put. I'm gonna put this in my calendar right now because I too want to do this. Calendar. Let's see. Frequency, reach, audience, overlap. All right, I'll do that and put it in the group at some point. Paris says, should we pay attention to the overall frequency and result rate of the individual creatives for dynamic, since one creative can tank the overall number to know if an ad's successful? No hot dudes and cozies. I mean, there are hot dudes and cozies. Don't put them on the cover, right, Vicky? I mean, I guess maybe there's not, right? You actually probably want more quirky dudes than hot dudes and cozies. And you're never going to end up with them. Although some cozies actually have like romance that has a full cycle now, right? Yeah, so my general rule of thumb is you don't want your frequency to be over 2 for any ad. And in dynamic creative, I make that judgment based on the images. So I'll go to the ad set tab, I'll do a breakdown by image, and if any individual piece of creative on my ad has a frequency of over 2 within 30 days, then I know it's probably starting to saturate. So what I do as a result of that, I might duplicate the ad. I'll duplicate the ad set because that's what you have to do with dynamic creative. I duplicate the ad set, pull out that image that Facebook is favoring a lot and has really high frequency, and then just run the ad with the other images just to make sure that I'm giving them some action as well. And so that way, rather than trying to increase my budget on this one image that has a high frequency, or this one ad that has a high frequency image, I'll instead go wide and I'll run 2 of them, same audience, same ad creative, just one of them is not using that image that Facebook keeps favoring. And then I can increase my spend on that one. And that's how I could go, say my one ad's kind of capped out at $20 a day. I'm like, if I spend more money, I'm going to start to saturate. Then I go wide and run 2 at $20 a day. Hey, Carolyn, long time no see. Does Facebook show results for each dynamic creative component? Yes. Let me just quickly show that to you guys. Go back to my thing here. We'll pick this. So you go to the ad set tab. It's you don't have to, but I do it this way because it's the cleanest. So go to all the way into the ad set tab. You click breakdown. You scroll down to by dynamic creative element. It'll be at the very bottom, and you click image, video, and slideshow, and it will then show you all the different images being used that I have in here and what they're getting. So I can see that this one image has pretty high frequency. So this one here has pretty high frequency. It's still within 30 days, it's under 2, so I'm actually not gonna sweat it. If it did have more than 2, then I would make some decisions based on that. And then it's interesting, this one image, it's got, like, 1 result. Facebook just determined that it sucks. And the one it's liking the most is actually a video it made from all of my images together. It just creates a slideshow, and that's actually working the best for this particular one. Hey, Yasmin, we're just at the end, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, so Paris, if that one image that's getting a lot of action is working, like if it's getting sales, I wouldn't delete it because then it's gone, and so is all the social proof attached to it. Um, at the very least, if I wasn't like, say maybe I had that one image was, I had an ad, that one image was getting all the play. And I'm like, my conversion's okay. It's not amazing. I would still duplicate and test without that image. I would just turn off the original ad because what if I ran the test and it was worse and I wanted to turn the original ad back on? Well, if you delete it, it's gone, and so is all your social proof and everything. So duplication is your friend. If you're running dynamic creative, you have to duplicate at the ad set level. Dynamic creative, you can't duplicate at the ad level. Um, so that's the difference there. Because you'll see, there's no, if I try to click duplicate. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was just reading. Yeah. So it does say here the ad set you selected is using dynamic creative and it can only include one ad. So I'd have to choose to make a new ad set. So I guess you can duplicate um, at the ad level, but you'll have to make a new ad set and then you have to go and manually put in your audience. So yeah, my original advice stands. Don't try to do that. It's complicated and weird. Duplicate at the ad set level is what you want. All right. Oh shoot, I have to jet. I have a call that's already started. I forgot someone booked a call that started a little bit early today. So I have to go. It has been great chatting with all of you. I've had a blast and I will see you next week. And hopefully I'll try and get an infographic for that whole frequency thing done as well. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. It was a lot of fun. And thanks for letting me rant. Sometimes the girl's got to rant a bit, you just got to do it. It's got to vent your spleen. All right. Bye.